Well, yeah, don't you follow the?
No, I can't follow
Hi,
everything.
this is the Pork and Beans Show.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute. We're not live yet.
And we're not live yet, but I just thought I'd welcome everybody who's here.
Mike's had a big day today, so
Real big day. I
yeah,
actually
he
got.
did.
I was at T-Mobile all day too. I got my phone back finally. So
Awesome.
yeah, thank God.
Or
Oh,
you
yeah,
did good. You did good,
My
Sharon.
entourage is here. Brian, can you
Oh,
hear them?
really?
Hang on a second. I gotta log in. Something's going on.
What'd you say,
Welcome to my
Kathleen?
world.
Did you say
What?
the star people were here? What'd you say?
My group's here. My friends are here.
Oh, good. That's good.
I was not able to get in touch with them yesterday because of my pain.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, it was an experience, but I needed to learn about pain.
Ooh.
So I did.
Yeah. Oh, unfortunately, physical pain can really just disrupt your, however you want to put it. You're, trying to get in the right mind state or anything.
And that's what I learned. I tried to give myself light language and I couldn't do it. I couldn't bring anything in. So.
So you're going to send me, I looked in the mail, I didn't see my light language note yet, but it probably comes soon.
It's in the mail. You might get it tomorrow.
I live in Savannah, and I think our mailmen aren't like in other parts of the country. They really don't care.
You're from the South.
They
mail.
don't care. Oh, well, if I don't get it today, I'll get it next week.
Yeah, you will. You will.
Yeah.
I did a thing where I mailed people out crystal necklaces. I did a giveaway. A lot of people like sell stuff, So for Christmas, like I was like, everyone's like take, and I said it's a giving, right? I said, so let me gift some people, right? So I went out and brought some crystal necklaces out, and I left them with the Sasquatch and asked them to like put their energy into it and make them special. And when I came back, there was a Y glyph on them, and I said, okay, good. So they were showing me like they were connecting us, and together, and I sent them out. Long story short, when I sent them out, they took forever to get to people. It was like nuts, snail mail for real.
I know. I haven't got mine yet.
Yeah. You got to show up.
Really
You showed up today. That's half the battle. That's how you win half the giveaways. Somebody got a drone last week.
What?
Yep, I gave away
Really?
a drone. Yeah, it's going to Canada. It's going to BC actually.
Awesome.
I don't think
Yeah.
I've met the young man Rigatoni.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The big pasta.
I go like that's when I slide away. Hi, my name is Mike. My real name is Mike.
Okay, hi, Mike.
And
Well, if you would like one of my light language things that I mail out,
Sure.
just get me your mailing address.
Sure. Sounds great. Thank you.
What do you do with it? You put it up on a wall or something and let it send out waves to you? What do you do with the light language?
Where is she?
Oops.
That's too serious a question, I guess.
We lost our co-host. I mean, our
Well,
guest.
something popped up and said again for me, and I had to hit got it like really fast. So like it says we're live.
Yep. There she is.
I must have hit the wrong button. I'm sorry.
Quit touching buttons, Kathleen.
She's pushing buttons again.
You're pushing buttons. That's never good.
We're live. We're live. What's the name of the show again, Brian?
Hey, everybody. My name is Port Cunningham, and I am here with my distinguished co-host, the world's handsomest man, Frank Vines, And today we are we are joined by oh geez, I screwed it all up. And today we are joined by regular co-hostess,
I'm the hostess.
the world's most enchanting siren of mystery, Ma Cobbler.
Ma Cobbler.
And of course,
the hostess with the mostest now.
That's right.
the most enchanting
You're an internet
siren of mystery.
sensation, the internet sensation.
I gotta
gosh.
I gotta refine that, but enchantress of most enchanting mistress of
Guest on Coast
Mystery.
to Coast.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Y'all are something else.
and we're also joined by the big pasta, Mike Rigatoni.
Yay.
And of course our guest today is Kathleen Whitehead, who we had her on a few weeks back, and powers that be did not allow us to have an entire show, so we had her back. Hi, Kathleen.
Hi.
You look great, Kathleen. This is much better, the lighting and everything.
Oh, good. Well, I'm in my living room instead of my studio where I usually do my my channelings. So I will take that under advisement. Maybe the lighting is not great.
You got the light on your face instead of the light behind you.
Okay.
You look 10 years younger.
Oh, well, I always look better without lighting on my face.
And Arla looks fabulous too.
Ravishing.
What happened to the Uncle George face? Where did he go? What was his name?
Hey.
Uncle Frank.
Uncle Frank. Yeah. What happened?
Yeah.
He's happy now. So
He didn't look happy in the picture.
well, he was sad, really, really sad.
That's because he's a ghost and he couldn't eat any of that fine food. I would be upset too. Looking at, oh my God, now I don't have any body.
Yeah, but at least he keeps the weight off. You know what I mean?
Oh my!
That was some picture. That was a very impressive picture.
Yeah, these guys are rotten.
Geez, my wife just
Good
brought me a big
looking, but
hamburger,
rotten.
so I don't know what to do. I'm not going to eat it on the air. Jeez. Now I got a problem. Well, maybe I'll blank myself out in a bit.
Maybe it'll be pork and beans and the burger today.
The burger. Yeah, we'll have to have somebody on and we'll call him the Burger Boy or something. But anyway, so what's been happening with you, Kathleen? Where did we end off last time?
I frankly don't even remember because I had a lot of star people around me, and they stopped the show.
How dare they?
Well, I think they had my back. That was the longest I'd ever carried that much energy.
Oh, okay.
It was about 2 hours, and I had never sat in that kind of energy for 2 hours straight.
Well, I guess not. Look at who you're surrounded by.
You mean the energy of the
Exactly.
You mean the energy of your star beings around you? That kind of energy?
Yeah.
So
they've given me a little bit more space today. So I don't, they're here. And I'm glad for that, but they're not making me dizzy like they did last time. So
I did a film.
Go ahead, Beans.
I did a film with on this man. He was in Miami, Florida. He was from Cuba, and he was the world's oldest contactee. He was like 97 or something. But his star people, they would come in his house. They would tell him what to eat, and like if he needed to do something with his diet, and they were like basically family, and they'd come every day. It was amazing.
Yeah,
actually
they are my family. They are my family. I was just thinking about that earlier, with all the birds that come by, and how I feel about them compared to maybe what I used to feel. I just feel like these animals and the birds that come by are just my friends and my family. And I just was telling Brian, for the first time, the nesting pair of crows were both on my deck at the same time. They're huge. That's why I had them confused with ravens. I think they're crows, but they're big crows.
Ravens have a longer beak, don't they? Like a longer.
Yeah, I've been looking at it. The crows seem to have theirs is longer and straighter. The raven is kind of thicker and curvier a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. Hey, you guys hearing a beep? I keep getting these notifications. I thought I turned all my notifications off, and I just can't. I just had one. Did you hear that?
I have not had any notifications since I've been here.
No, me. So you guys aren't hearing it?
No.
Okay, well, then that's all right then.
It's
'Cause I can't figure out.
Yeah, it's probably
can't
because you're
figure
the
out how-
host.
I can't figure out how to turn them off. Like I turned all my notifications off as far as I can see, but anyway.
Well, in my experience, if they want to get through, they will ignore your notifications being turned off, right?
I guess, but I don't know what they're trying to convey other than annoy me.
I think last week we were about to share some of Kathleen's photos. I think we were talking about that.
Yeah, I've got some photos lined up. Should I bring them up?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, just give me a second.
Whew. Just a heads up, there may be some light language coming through during this.
Did you want to do that first?
Well, yeah. It's si tiamo ko tata yang tapakade te ama tatitia.
What is that? Can you translate that?
That was the first time that language came through.
From that particular type of people, or what do you mean?
Whatever. I think of them all as one, and that they have different speakers who come forward. And that one actually, I believe, was some sort of a bird person, because he that's what I got. Arla, did you get anything?
I did. I saw a very small, dark-skinned woman with a bird feather headdress on that swooped back. It was like big feathers. I didn't really see the face or anything else, and I didn't necessarily feel like it was female. To me, it looked like a female and kind of felt like female energy, but the headdress was phenomenal.
Do you see the picture of the pileated woodpecker?
Yeah. I'm gonna let you speak on this. I'm gonna take my picture off, because this hamburger is
looking good. Huh?
Where is it? Anyway,
the pileated, as I was going through pictures today to share with Brian, I I kept going to that picture, and this bird just wanted to be included. So I sent it to Brian and said, well, maybe irrelevant, but this guy wanted to be
Yeah.
part of it. And
That's a big bird.
it's on, and it was on my deck. My deck is about 5 by 10. It's an apartment sized deck. And the crows and the pileateds, all the different, I had a hawk of some kind one time, but that was early on. But they don't seem to care that it's a small deck. They don't. They like the food that I give them, of course. But I feel very honored that they are so comfortable and that they come through. And I have my door open. I have a screen door closed because they'd be flying in here. But I just consider them part of the family, and tell them I love them. And I've named the big crow. His name is Beaky, because I studied its beak to try to determine whether it was raven or crow. It's solitary. There's not a big murder of crows here. There's only those 3. And it was only him for a while. So, so I found that confusing. But I feel like when I ask for signs from Sasquatch that they're still here, they send me these birds.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
And actually, one of the pictures I've sent you is of a bird's nest. When we get to that, I'll tell the story about that.
Do any of y'all see this blue streak, this blue right
Oh
above
my.
the line I drew? That right
Yes. Yes, I do.
That could be a reflection, couldn't it, from the window? I'm not
I
sure.
don't know about that. Not that color. You think that's a reflection?
I
I think it could be a reflection from this, couldn't it? Same color.
I don't know.
I don't know. I have not noticed that before. I'm going to go back. There's a whole series of pictures of this bird. I will go back when we're done, and I'm going to look at that because I'd never noticed that.
So how did this bird relate that he wanted to be part of the show? How does that work with you?
It's just I think it's kind of one of those thought placement things, because I follow my impulses, and if I keep being led back to something or keep looking at that bird and or that picture, it's okay. I'm going to send it. I don't know why, but I'm going to send it. That kind of thing. I don't get I get a sense more than anything else. Just, okay, I'm supposed to do this.
That's a palliated, is it palliated woodpecker?
Yes.
Or palliated? Yeah.
Whatever. It's a big guy.
Pilly or pally, one of the, call them pally here.
That's amazing, the size of them. The woodpeckers we have here in Georgia are about half that size.
Yeah, they are huge, and they are loud.
Yes,
very
they are.
loud.
And most of the woodpeckers, I have had 5 different varieties of woodpeckers on my deck. And they're varying sizes. The next in size that I've seen is the northern flicker.
Yeah, they're cool.
And
Wow.
then
That's amazing. It's amazing to have one on your deck, but 5 different varieties?
Every day.
Do you have the downy woodpecker too, the little bitty one?
Yes.
That
Downy.
is, the Choctaw people believe that he is the news bringer. And so he goes from tree to tree and hangs around houses and things like that. So he knows everything that's going on. And one of the things I found is that that's kind of a woodpecker energy all the way around, because you see them around places in trees and things like that. And it's like they're gathering the news and taking it somewhere else. And the pileated woodpecker to me sounds like a town crier when he goes through. You immediately know who that was.
Yeah, I've had downy and hairy, red belly, red-headed, pileated, northern flicker.
That's
Wow.
think
awesome.
And
We had
I
a-
have downy and hairy every day. And
That's
well,
awesome.
actually, the pileated is the only one that's very rare.
That's why you
Yeah.
wanted to come on the show today. Just to,
Maybe so. Maybe so. He's I just, like I said, I consider it an honor that they come and visit me.
yeah, we had a pileated woodpecker at the camp out I was just at for 4 days.
Ah,
He was doing his call.
Yep.
So you're not hearing a beep, eh? Because that's driving me nuts. As long as it's not on the show, I guess I can.
it is
I can
not
live
on
with
the
it.
show.
Okay. All right.
So
What are we looking at
Oh.
here?
that I actually asked for a sign from the Sasquatch. Are you still here? Because I have not seen them with my physical eyes. I felt them, and they've have given me gifts, but I haven't seen them. But what I found out is that a lot of the things that I saw when I was walking daily in the park, and there's some pictures in there, that I was seeing a lot of structures and I heard them push a tree over, and just a few different things that happened to me. Well, I asked for the sign, whether they were here still with me. And I drove, there's a park about 6 miles away from me. And this was actually before the tornado actually hit that park, and 2 people were killed. But this was before that. And as always, I followed the impulse to turn into a particular place. And I turned and I parked and I looked over, and so I'm on a parking lot in a pretty nice park. But I looked over and I studied these 2 trees. They are leaned up inside the crook of 2 other trees. And I looked and I thought, I don't know why humans would have done that, or how they would have done that, because it's 2 opposite directions. And I just asked, I said, was this a sign? And I got the affirmative that was just, they placed it for me, or had somebody place it. But I believe that was a sign, because it's just 2 trees, completely opposite directions, very close, just nestled in those trees.
Yeah.
And
So
they have, some of the early signs that I've gotten were trees that were pushed over and nestled into other trees. There's about 3 of them in the little stand of trees that is behind my apartment, but I couldn't say for sure that they were structures, because the winds and everything, they could have easily happened that way naturally, except that there are 3 of them.
now,
So
did you notice did you notice if these trees were carried in, or had they fallen over or been uprooted where they are?
they look to have been fallen over, but I didn't walk back there to look at it, because I would have had to take the walker, and wasn't ready to do that yet. But they didn't look the way that a human would have done that. But they could have now Sasquatch certainly could have carried them in.
Hey, Brian,
Arla-
could you make this picture bigger a couple
Yeah,
times?
if it was the strong wind or whatever, you think that they would have blown in the same direction. And plus,
Yeah, and
look
not
how,
land
yeah.
in, not land in two trees leaned up like that.
That
Yeah,
good beans.
that's good. Yeah, I wanted to see what's going on here. It looks like this tree here is floating in the air. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
To me, that's significant because one of the messages, one of the things I look for is where uh, big horizontal or angle things are just not touching the ground, and that's what kind of what it looks like.
I will venture over there. I don't know whether they're still there because of the tornado that ripped through that park, but and I haven't been back because of the tornado. But
What tree are you talking about, Beans? This one?
No, this
No,
tree here, it
the
looks like it just stops right here, and it doesn't go on down to the ground. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, well something common that I see. Oh yeah, that's
So
something
it's
common that we
actually
see, but that
it's
kind of
actually
indicates Sasquatch
floating
too.
up in the air. So when they did it, it didn't actually go to the ground. I think I look for that kind of stuff. And I guess
Well, yeah, if it was pushed over and rooted or whatever, you would see, you would see the bottom and whatever. So yeah, it looks like it was kind of placed there for sure.
you got these little twigs here where my red line is. That's there, and then then right. Well, right.
I guess I'll have to drive back over to that park tomorrow.
So you got 1,
Well,
2,
Okay.
3.
Yeah.
You see these things are leaners are right here. This looks like a leaner too. This one and this one. Yeah, it's a lot of things to look at. Did anybody notice this little red diamond thing?
yeah, I did.
What do you think that is? Just a piece of trash?
Probably. That's like I said, I was sitting in the car in a parking lot, so I could see that. That's they're very kind about bringing things close enough that I can see them. I don't have a picture of this, but one time I just needed to touch a tree, and it was raining. I drove over to the park. This has been several years ago, and I lived really close to a real big park, and I would go in there every day. And so I just wanted to be in the park, and I went to the park and parked in a place. It was raining too hard for me to get out. That was before I needed my walker, but there was a bough of a tree up above my car, and the bough of the tree leaned down and touched my windshield, so that all I had to do was lower the window a little bit and I could touch that tree.
Wow.
And I've never, I'd been in that position many times, but I never had that bough gone that far down. I thought it was the tree, but I wonder whether it was Sasquatch. But I talk to trees, I hug trees, I feel the energy of trees.
A tree could definitely do that if it chose to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody did.
Do
And I
trees
was honored.
Have you ever had a tree tell you a story or anything? Some of the big trees out in my woods, they got a lot of knowledge.
They do. And I feel things more than I hear things. But early on, I was told, like early on, before I even believed that I had anything, I was told that I should sing to the trees. So I would always sing to the trees. made up a little song and just sang to the trees. And then I could feel their heartbeat. And I don't know that I have realized that they were giving me messages. I think I told you about the tree that introduced himself the last time.
Well, let's hear it again. I don't remember it.
Well, I was living in the camper, and it was my second day in a new campsite. And I woke up and I sat on the side of my bed in the camper and looked out, and I could see this great big old shag bark maple. And I said, "Well, good morning, tree." And I heard him say, "Well, I have a name," just that way. I said, "Okay, what would you like me to call you?" And he said, "Buster." So Buster was with me for the whole time that I was in that campground. And I was in that campground for a few months because it was during my granddaughter's COVID. So I stayed in that area. But
And what was Buster telling you?
I don't know. I mean, because I sometimes I have messages or things that I don't know where it comes from. So I just take it as whatever. So I'm going to pay attention to what trees. So far, they've just given me their names that I've been aware of, because I will I will just basically say, "What's your name?" And then a name comes into my mind. I have out here, I have Wendy, Tall Boy, Peeper, and Joseph.
Wow. Do you like with the Sasquatch people? I can feel the different the personality and their energy. Can you feel that with some of the beings or entities or trees or whatever that connect with you?
I feel different energies. I feel different, but I have not connected them to particular trees. But I'll pay attention to that. That's a good thing for me to learn.
I don't know. And there's one other thing that you mentioned I just wanted to mention is that you were saying you were hearing them push trees down and stuff. Like, were you aware that they can actually give you the impression that you're hearing a tree or something falling down or being pushed down, and it's not actually happening? Sometimes it is, and sometimes they'll just put that in your field of perception that it's happening. Well, it'd be either way.
I happened to go and see the tree that they had pushed down.
Okay. Yeah. That
time. But I'm learning a lot from you right now. So I will be more aware. This I feel like we have a downy woodpecker out there right now.
He wants to listen to the show.
I feel like I think of energy as just kind of all one thing, and I can feel the difference, like if it's a heavy or a depressed or something like that, or loving. Yeah. I feel a lot of loving energies at different times, well, but I haven't associated that with a particular being.
My experience is generally with the Sasquatch people, so it might be different, but you can feel the energy and different energy and personalities in them. Like, a juvenile will feel like a juvenile. A female energy will be softer and gentler, and some of the males are pretty strong, and they just all feel different. But I'm dealing with a smaller base of comparison, I guess, than you.
When the Sasquatch has come in to protect me, which has happened a couple of times, I get the smell, and I feel there are powerful energies that I feel sometimes, and I just have not really learned to identify them. You know, I just am grateful for them.
We've got more pictures, but I wanted to, because you were talking about, I thought we'd talk about this a little bit, and we'll bring the pictures up pretty quick. So when you said they come in to protect you, and can you give us some examples? Because I mean, I've been rescued out of the woods by them, and I've also had a couple times when I know they were protecting me. Like one time, I was thinking maybe a bear could have access to this because it was right in season, and they just said we're watching out for you, or can't remember the exact words, but that kind of stuff. So how does it work with you, or how did it work with you?
Well, there was a time that I got a phone call from, or something online. Someone contacted me and insisted that I make a video because I needed to prove something about the Sasquatch. And I, you know, he got very aggressive, and so I blocked him. And then in the middle of the night, I was sleeping and I woke up to feel his anger. And I knew that he was so mad at me for blocking him because he couldn't get back to me to intimidate me. And so since I felt the anger, I just basically said, okay, guys, circle the wagons. I'm not going to put up with this anger. The person couldn't physically get to him, but I don't want to feel somebody's anger. So, then I smelled the smell, and I just felt all of these energies around me. And it was like they were saying, all right, be gone, because you're not going to be allowed to be around this person. I know that I don't know who has protected me before I knew that Sasquatch does, but I know that whenever I have been in harm's way, somebody takes care of it. There was a van in a rainstorm one time headed directly toward my car as I watched it, and it made a very quick U-turn in front of my car. Between my car and the car ahead of me, I was stopped, and when that car made a complete U-turn and was stopped on the side of the road, and I passed this guy in the car, and we're both going, what just happened? Because something made him, was protecting all of us. I know. So I have smelled the female smell of the flowery, just more because I wanted to, because I don't see them, I always ask for some kind of a sign that they're around. And often it's just a hair laying on the sink in the morning, or that I believe that the bird's nest that I have a picture of was a sign from them.
Okay, we can look at that in a bit. Hey, Ma,
Okay.
did you want to do what? I don't know if you want to share this story, but do you remember when you and your grandson were in the car and something happened?
Yeah.
Did you want to share that? Do you want to share that?
That's exactly
What you were thinking.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking when she was telling that
Well,
story.
isn't that what a coincidence, eh?
Yeah. Well, we're finding several, but anyway, I was at a gathering in Tennessee in the Smoky Mountains, and it was on Sunday. At the time, I had a Ford powder blue van that I would travel in because I could sleep in it, and I took my 8-year-old grandson with me. It was an awesome weekend. And we were getting ready to leave Sunday. We were all tired. Oh my gosh, we were so tired. And I was getting ready to pull out into a the road that was there in front of the motel, and I looked both ways. I didn't see, there wasn't any cars in my way. I pulled out across the lane closest to me because I was going to make a left. I pulled into the left lane, and coming from the right was a car speeding, and it was not there when I pulled out. Well, when I got sideways into that lane, you couldn't go around me. There was a curb and I think trees and some other stuff just across the road. And I said to the ancestor grandmothers, I said, grandmothers, protect us. And at that point, that car went through us. It went through the van. I literally saw the car go through the front part of the van. And I glanced at my grandson, and he was like, Mama, what happened? And so I said, well, we're okay. We're fine. The grandmothers protected us. And so we went, I pulled on out and was going down. And of course, I'm thinking about the whole thing, and I'm thinking the grandmothers. And my grandson began to get sick. And it was just the energy of that happening on him. And we're driving down the road, and in between the seats in that old van, you could walk, and my purse was sitting right there between us. And he kept saying, Mama, I'm going to get sick. I'm going to pass out. And he just leaned over and threw up in my purse. So I was like, thank you, grandmothers. I needed that because they deal with me in laughter through so many things through the years. They've looked at me and helped me with laughter, and I laugh a lot. But when you were telling that, it was just like, yeah, I know how this story ends. And you shake your head and you go, how did that happen? That was divine intervention is what that was.
And
that,
I'm reminded also, my daughter and I were on the highway and stacked up in traffic, and it was icy. We were going to see my son graduate from boot camp in the Marines, and I like a mother went because of, you know, how moms do when their daughter's driving, and she tapped the brake. We must have spun around 3 times and came off the off the highway, never hit anything. And we were stacked in traffic, and it just,
that is so awesome. That is so awesome.
I think you said that the grandmothers give you laughter. I think that my protectors or my friends, whoever they happen to be, give me awe-striking things.
Yeah.
They just, one time I was driving around in the park, and I said, you know, I haven't seen anything awe-striking for a while. Turn the corner, and there was a doe escorting her freshly born fawn into safety. I mean, this was the tiniest little shaky leg thing going and I thank you. that did it. That did it.
Yeah.
So,
when you ask with the pure intent of your heart, it's just there.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's anything said with pure intent from the heart manifests. And that's a key.
I thought I noticed everything, but I don't notice everything. And you all are teaching me today the things that I took for granted. But I from the childhood, I thought everything was normal. And turns out it was not. but now it is normal, but I need to notice more.
Well,
I just want to ask,
that's a growth. That's just a growth thing that we all go through. You know, I had a group of people here this past weekend, and they taught me more over the weekend, helped me see more over the weekend just by their energy and their loving hearts. This weekend, and I've always said when I go to teach something, I always learn more than any of my students ever will take home with them.
Me
hey,
too.
Ma, I just wanted to ask you something. Do you think
Yeah.
did you see that driver when they went by? Were they shocked, or did you see them or notice anything about them?
I saw them. I did not see his face at all, actually. But I saw him. There were two in the front and three in the back. It was a full car. You know, it was just like a little sedan type car. But I did not see their face. I would imagine if they had seen mine or my grandson's, but
I
no.
think that I was just given a funny line from somebody, and you had damage in your purse. You had to clean out your purse. They probably all had to go home and change clothes.
No, because I know they had to be doing the same thing. I didn't question it that much because I mean the grandmothers have done things, you know, forever. Um, but they had unless that was totally taken out of their vision, and it could have been they could have seen nothing and just, you know, a normal drive. So I don't know.
I have
Yeah.
had times where cars or something appear or disappear because they're supposed to.
Yeah.
I don't really have any. I know that I've had that. I think I shared with you that my time flip when I was on the road from South Carolina, I was driving along in the right-hand lane, and a really interesting looking sports car that was orange and black and had a vanity plate that had a something like Rochester or some word like that passed me 3 times, but I never passed it.
Yeah.
But it passed me 3 times, and I you know, there weren't 3 orange and black sports cars with Rochester as a license plate, and there were no exits that he could have gotten around, and it was just like, okay. But I had a couple of time flips while I was in South Carolina where it just I lost time. There was
Now, did these things happen to you before while you were still the accountant, or was
No.
it afterwards?
Not that I noticed. Not that I noticed. I started having signs that I actually noticed when I was introduced to this. Well, I have to take that back. During the 10 years that I was trying to unpack my own baggage, there were so many miracles, serendipity. I couldn't even remember all of them, but it seemed to me that every time I was journaling and I would have a question, the answer would come from my pen. I didn't know, but the answer was there. And there were just serendipities. I would need to meet someone and they would be there. You know, I would need to hear something and it would be told. There was one thing that I remember, and I may have already shared this, but as I was leaving my house, my life was about to change, because when I left my house, that was just before I turned 65. And things really changed after I moved that house. But it snowed. I was getting ready to move. I was packing. And I think there were probably 5 to 7 inches of snow on the ground. And I said to myself, oh gosh, how am I going to get that driveway plowed? How am I going to get that shoveled? I don't know. I don't have any idea. And I was in the inside of my house, and I was going back and forth. My garage was attached, and I was going back and forth, and I was inside the house, and I heard something crash in the garage. And I went out to check, and a plastic container that was secure had fallen off onto the floor. I jumped, and then I heard voices outside my garage door, and I opened the garage door, and there was a young man out there saying, do you need your driveway plowed? And I said, yes. But earlier that day, I was taking things out of the freezer, and I had 2 packages of ream noodles and some leftover turkey. And I threw it all in a pot. And while I was throwing this in the pot, I thought to myself, why am I making so much food? What am I going to do with all this? And turned out the young man was with his wife, and son. That the family was sitting in the car waiting for him. They had no money. They had no food. And I had stuff I was about to throw away, that, enough utensils and a big pot of chicken and noodles that I didn't know what I was supposed to do with. And of course, that was what I was supposed to do. So that's why I follow my impulses. Just, all right, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm going to do it. I don't know why I needed to drive out to the park or whatever, but I'm going to do it. So, or by the same token, I'm sitting in front of Aldi's for an hour last week, never could make myself go inside. So I didn't do grocery shopping that day because there was something keeping me out. So that's,
Yeah.
And that is not how I lived for the first 50 years.
So just to revisit, go ahead, Beans.
When you said that all this stuff happened around the time when you were unpacking your life, that's a great turn of a phrase, unpacking my life. That's when you've lived a full life and then you still got all this stuff left over. Could you talk about any of that if you feel like it?
Well, I believe all of this, everything happens for a reason, but I was normal for the first 50 years. I was completely in survival mode. I felt like I was happy. I was sure I was happy. I was married for 27 years. And then one day, so I had a 27-year good marriage and one bad day, because I came home from a meeting and the marriage ended right then. And he left, and then times were a little bit hard. But the next morning after he left, I woke up and I realized I had no idea what I wanted to do. I didn't have any idea even what kind of music I liked. I only knew what he liked and what he would want to do, and what, so that was what scared me, was not knowing myself. And so I just determined that moment, I'm going to figure this out. And the reason that because I didn't want to, I wanted to get married again. I wanted to be normal again. And I started taking every method I could. I journaled, I meditated, I went to different churches. I did everything I possibly could think of for 10 years. And during that time, the serendipity grew. I figured out inch by inch what I wanted in life, who I was. I still had plenty of healing to do, and I discovered things that I didn't know about myself that were very conveniently denied or forgotten. And I'm still discovering some of those things. But so that he left it. I was age 50. And then at age 60, after going through all of this stuff, I think I shared that I knew exactly who I was, I thought, so much so that to celebrate my 60th birthday, I danced a tango demonstration, because one of the things that I was doing is I took ballroom dance lessons. And what I didn't know at the time was dancing was my first light language, because that energy, that flow, all that was where I went into my bliss. But one of the impulses was I was watching Oprah, and she was interviewing Elizabeth Gilbert and talking about Eat, Pray, Love. I absolutely had to turn off the TV and go buy that book before she was even finished talking. And through that book, I met, not through her. Yeah, I did. I met the woman who would be my mentor, who would tell me that I had some gifts that I needed and a mission that I needed to explore. But the important thing was that I made a life-changing decision to let my former husband know that I was not mad at him. Mm-hmm. That there was not, that I forgave him. I don't believe in forgiveness anymore, but because I don't think anybody does anything wrong. They do exactly as they're supposed to do. But so that impulse led me to find something. By the same token, when I followed an impulse to go buy a Seth book in 2014. Everything that has happened to me since 50 has been magic, has been a miracle, and they keep coming. And I know I'm protected. And even my pain that happened yesterday, I had my first experience with gout. I don't recommend it. I could not walk, and I'm not used to not walking. But I recognized this morning that I got some messages about what that was about. As soon as I got the last message, I felt the release through my foot. Mm-hmm. Felt like sparkles coming out of my foot. And I knew, okay, you got what you were supposed to learn from that. So
you have been walking in the flow. And that's what happens when you make that decision to move forward and just allow what comes to come. Because walking in that flow shows all the magic of this world that we live in and of the magic within us. And its synchronicity resides in the flow. And when you begin to see those things that happen that teach you something or lead you to something, to me, it feels like I am in the flow. I'm not driving the God bus anymore. I'm here and I'm just flowing right along. I got my seat. I'm not telling anybody else what they have to do or where they got to turn or how they got to do this. And I'm not even telling myself that. I'm just saying I'm in this flow. And what comes in that flow, I know that there will be something there that I need.
Yeah, I have many more things to learn.
I just
Many,
had a
many,
thought.
many.
I just had a thought. You think that the gypsy lifestyle is just their lifestyle, or is it them in the flow? I guess it depends on the individual, but you know what I mean? They just kind of go with the flow, so to speak.
It does depend. Everything depends on the individual, but that would be I mean, living in a camper was kind of, I think I was there. But I wouldn't, I think I would describe my lifestyle now as a gypsy lifestyle. I just, a magical, blessed with lots of creature comforts and a whole lot of birds and
Yep.
one chipmunk that I know of,
Oh, I love
and
that.
a bunch of squirrels. Baby squirrels are just all over the place.
I love the chipmunks. We had a bunch of chipmunks at our camp out. Just they come right up to you, pretty much. You know, they're not scared.
Yeah. The only problem is this little guy cannot jump up to get the food. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do for him.
We can say beans.
I just said I got little baby squirrels in Georgia. Outside my house is a big oak tree, so I see the squirrels come in the morning and they eat whatever they can eat, and then the birds come in, and it's kind of same kind of thing. You don't
They
have to do
actually,
much to have a magical life. Just open your eyes.
exactly. And listen, and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
for me, being awestruck is easier and easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a beautiful way to say it. So Kathleen, your life basically changed in one day.
Yeah.
So what started
One time
on,
it did.
so what started unfolding after that? You know, when you turned 50, what were some of the initial things that started unfolding? How did the magic reveal itself, or how did the teachings come to you?
Well, the first thing I think was selling the house of our marriage, and it took 13 months to do that, which is probably about that was a long time for a house. But the moment that I decided and declared that I was open to moving into an apartment, buying him out his half, or buying another house, the moment I decided that, it broke loose. And the house sold. I found the house that I bought. And it was just like, as soon as I released expectations, the best thing happened. The house that I found, and my house, the house of my marriage, sold on my dad's birthday. The house that I bought, I found a calendar that had a picture of the owner of that house, unrelated, but had a picture of him. Just so many, I would run into somebody and they would say the exact thing that answered the question. One of the first things after I began learning about metaphysical things was the sign to quit worrying about money. I get a lot of stuff in my car, but I was driving actually at that same stoplight. I was stopped and worrying about money, and I looked at the parking or the license plate in front of me, it was an Indiana plate that said, "In God We Trust." And then the numbers and letters were my username for my bank accounts. So, so I thought, okay, that was a pretty strong sign. When my first mediumship group that I had an event that I didn't advertise. I just had a few flyers and I had 40 people show up. But earlier in that day, I saw 3 different license plates with my sign for abundance. 3. And my sign is 888. So that's the kind of thing that happens to me all the time. During the 10 years before I learned about metaphysical studies, I just thought it was miracles and serendipity. It was just kind of unbelievable. It happened so much. But I also felt, okay, I'm taken care of. I don't really have to worry because somebody's got my back. Now, I thought I was going to get married. I wanted so badly to just get married immediately. You know, after 27 years, that was a hard stop to suddenly be completely on my own. It was the first time in my entire life that I lived alone. But now I kind of like it. You know?
Well, the world's handsomest man is single.
I'm single for the same reasons, and I kind of like it too.
Very often when I'm doing mediumship readings and people have questions, it's the big question from women is, am I ever going to get married again? And I always ask, do you think you want to? And then this one lady said, well, I don't know that I really want to wake up with some old man's face in front of me every day. So, but I also know I will meet someone.
Yeah.
I know that because, and the reason is I'm going to be traveling and I don't really want to, I don't want to travel alone.
Mhm.
So, but I also am okay. There is a sense of urgency because I'm ready to travel. And this, whatever it is that I'm doing, which is not something I expected as an accountant, as a normal person, there seems to be some sense of urgency about it.
I recommend travel myself. When I was in my 20s and 30s, I was a carpenter, so there's no retirement for carpenters. So I just put my money together and took off on a month-long vacation, travel the world every year when I would save up enough money. Ended up, I guess it was like 13 different countries I've been to and traveled around. And so I've kind of got that out of my system, but it's really nice to travel. I mean, talk about if you want to be in the flow and you want to have magic stuff happen, travel. That's God loves the travelers.
I think that if you want to have magic happen, you just ask for it.
Mhm.
But I did travel. I mean, I was in a camper for 16 months. And that's how I know I don't want to do that alone. So, but I keep getting distracted. We had a red belly woodpecker over there a minute ago too.
They're coming to get the news. They're going to take the news out about pork and beans and Kathleen. So they're going to share the news.
Yeah. I have felt like they are clustering around for different reasons than just the food. And the crows don't always eat.
Yeah.
They just will bounce around on the deck and do a little strutting.
Why don't you tell us about your, so you have a Sasquatch, is it, you call him a guide or what do you call him? How,
Well,
how were you introduced to him? And what's the story behind your relationship?
Well, I think I've got several. I've been told that I have about 5 around me at all times. And at first, I kind of looked at them as like a guide or a protector or something like that. But just a couple of months ago, I thought, you know, you're really expecting too much. These are people. They are, you know, they're individuals. They're not here to take care of me. They will be here anytime I want. I'm sure of that. Anytime I need them, but they're not my, they don't have to be my companions. And that's kind of the way I look at the whole group that comes through. They are mostly here all the time, but, and I know that they will help me in any way, as long as I am in the right vibration. They will help me anytime I ask. I know that because that's what love is about. But I don't look at them as my, I don't know the word. They're not here to serve me. We are here to serve each other. And we are working together rather than anybody working for each other. I am the ambassador to whomever or for whomever I am meant to love and encourage and introduce to anybody else. That's that's what they're feeding me right this moment. I have in doing that, in recognizing that we're all in this together, I gained more respect and love for them and more respect and love for myself. Because it's a collaboration. The way we are all collaborating right now, we're doing this for the reasons of, because we're supposed to, and money doesn't motivate me. Never has. I have asked that the universe, if they want me to do this, please support me, make it easy for me to pay for what I need to pay for and so forth. But my relationship with all beings, including Sasquatch and ETs and trees and blades of grass and you know, pieces of equipment or whatever, is to be loving and to be loved, and have I don't want to waste anything. I don't want to take advantage of anything. But that's what my relationship is to everything, is to just be. And when I drop this suit of armor or whatever it is and move on, I look to really get to meet and see and be with all of these friends I have made.
Yeah. Want to get back to a few pictures or,
Sure.
should we?
I'll jump right off of my soapbox now. And
I love your attitude because I have something similar as I realized after about 2 or 3 years that I really didn't want to see them. It wasn't like I put a declaration out there, I got to see you to be real. So to me, they're like friends, my dearest friends who are just living in another place.
Yeah.
And the level of friendship doesn't change just because they're living in another place. I have a sister who lives in Florida and she's still my sister. So yeah, so you don't have to put a condition on the relationship that they see you or that they teach you or anything like that. In my opinion, they respect people far more who they can interact with without words and without signs or symbols. You know what I'm saying? If they've got you and there's a connection there, they like that pretty good. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's better than the people who are having amazing mind speak because they're doing something, they're writing something, or they're doing something with that. But yeah, if you don't have to go to the woods, and you don't have to have them, you don't have to have the world's greatest photograph or anything like that. It's just enough to be there. Like you're for the tree, you don't really, there's plenty of trees out there. They don't have to talk to you. You just look at them. They're good. Trees are good.
and I do have, I mean, some of the pictures I have been awe-striking for me, but I don't have a bunch of pictures. But I would like to explain a couple of the pictures. So grab one, Brian.
And yeah, just give me a second. You ever heard of Pappy there, Ma?
Yeah.
Well, he's messaging me. He's got locked out of his Facebook thing and he's trying to get me to do stuff.
No,
Don't do it.
don't
It's
do
an app. I
it.
just did it.
Yeah, well, now I can't get onto my page or whatever now. So I don't know.
Don't-
Yep.
It's not him. He said it. He said my name was Todd. He knew that. No,
Well,
he's trying to
he's-
open up his new account because he's trying to open up his. Well, how does he know my? How does he know my
Give a hard
nickname?
pass on that, and then give it a few days. Let him figure out what somebody else. Because a lot of those guys are scammers.
Okay. Well, anyway,
You'll end
you
up
guys-
you'll end up getting locked out of your account.
Okay, you guys have a conversation for a bit while I figure
And
out.
the first thing that he's going to ask is, oh, you got to go onto Facebook and give me your Facebook login or something like that.
Okay, well, you guys talk amongst yourself for a minute while I figure this out.
I'm talking
Okay.
to Tom right now.
Well, tell Tom I can't do it because it's screwing everything up for me.
Yeah, don't do it. It's not true.
Well, why is he talking to me then?
It's a hacker talking to you.
He called me Todd.
The hackers read everything.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Sounded like him. He has this
Yeah, the new profile.
old wry sense of humor, but okay, whatever. Okay. Anyway, you guys figure something out. Survive without me. I know it's hard, but I'll be back in a bit.
What do you mean you'd be back in a bit? You don't have to go anywhere.
I have to log into Facebook to get the pictures, and I can't and I can't get in there because of this nonsense going on.
Oh, yeah. Well, go look for the pictures, and we'll keep talking.
Yeah, you keep talking. You got to carry the mantle there, Mr. Beans. And the world's most mysterious siren,
Oh Lord, help.
the enchantress of mystery.
Oh yeah. Jeez. Go do what you gotta do and then come back.
Okay.
Kathleen, when was the first time that you channeled?
Oh my goodness. Well, I started the idea of forming the group that I had was to develop my physical mediumship. We were going to do these different experiments with objects, trying to do apports, and just to, and so that was sometime after 2019, probably 2020, and we were just going to meet and develop that, and then suddenly they started. Well, the light language came through in 2017, but then there started to be voices. I had been told from the beginning that I was going to do something like that. I didn't really believe it or understand it. But now that you talk about it, the first time that I channeled was actually probably at around the time of the light language in 2017. And a friend of mine who is magic, and she now lives in Australia, but she came to visit me, and I was telling her about the fact that I was reading a book about how to channel or something like that. And she said, well, you can do that right now. And I said, okay. So she put me into a meditative place she had a drum that she beat, and that kind of got me into the right place. And I was very adamant that I wanted to channel a particular person. Did not work. But so I went into trance first, and then the whole time I'm sitting there and my mind is going, ask your questions, and nothing was coming through. And I didn't speak that. And when we both got frustrated enough that I came out of trance, she says, I was sitting there, I had these questions and I wanted to ask these questions, but I didn't want to interrupt you. So we both were, we were trying to get that. And then I opened up again, and a fairy came through. And I knew that it was not the person I was trying to get. And I don't know why I was so adamant that I needed to talk to this other person, but so this fairy was just light and airy and mischievous, and just it was just a real different energy. And and so I asked, who is this? And I don't think she gave me a name, but I said, why are you here? And she said, just exploring. And I saw you. And so I got a little frustrated again because I wanted to channel this other person. And then, so I got back out of trance. She took me back into trance, and I never did get the person that I wanted. But I did get a very high level person that awestruck me at the time. It was Christ. And he gave me some messages and so forth. I don't think I believed that at the time, because I have spent a lot of time asking myself, why me? How do I deserve this? I believe that all beings deserve all of it, but I didn't believe for me. But so that was the first time. And then I did work with a person for a short time, that we would get together and we'd both try to channel. And then he decided that wasn't going to be what he needed to do. And we quit. Then I gathered a group together, and in that channeling, I had not set my boundaries, and someone came through that was just felt bad, felt awful. And also my brother came through during that time, but I had someone come through and give his name that I was surprised, and we were taping it. So I didn't hear the name, but that one that I had wanted to channel before said his name, and that kind of banished, and I quit. When I felt like this, whoever I've got is not good, I quit. But then I started in 2020 working with some friends, just wanting to develop the physical mediumship, and it just started
You have problems with that?
happening.
Babe, you gotta deal with this right now. Delete and block the old Tom.
So but I didn't. The process has taken me a couple of years to get to a point where I believed it.
Yeah.
And that was almost kind of a singular time where I got to a point, and then I thought, okay, yeah, it's me. I mean, I'm channeling, and I'm not sure. It seems like I channel during a lot of times, because like that our last meeting, I
Mhm.
think that there was more channeling than I realized.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember it.
Yeah. That happens actually a lot for people who do channel. And that's like with the grandmothers. I've channeled them for years. And there would be questions asked at some point, and I would not know the answer at all. But it would be like it just came out. And when you work with specific energies like the grandmothers, it was interesting that when I would channel them, of course, Arla wasn't really there, and there was a change in me. It was just interesting that those times that they would speak would be things like you're talking about. You don't remember. And I don't ever normally remember much at all about anything that's channeled. You know yourself that you're actually not there. And I actually asked that Arla not be any part of this other than, my energy is being used as that voice. So,
I have a little bit of a different experience, I think, because I am sitting to the side.
mhm.
So the Kathleen is sitting there to the side going, oh, that is really interesting. But I don't remember very much.
Right,
But
right.
except like after it's over, I don't remember. But there are times that I remember specific things, partly because that helps me think, oh my gosh, I would never have thought about that.
Yes,
That was
yeah,
a really
yeah,
good example. That's a great way to
yeah.
explain that, And one time I thought it was really interesting. Somebody, I don't remember exactly the question, but it was about past lives, and something about why can't we just get it all done in one time? And they showed me that this was such an interesting thing. I thought this was a great way to explain that. But they showed me a big whiteboard with one of those formulas that fills the whole whiteboard.
Yeah.
And
Sign out of Facebook.
and they and you know, with all of the different parentheses and symbols and things like that. And they explained that each one, that in order to complete what you want to do in this plan, you have to take each of these pieces of formulas and live that part. And I thought, wow, that is really, I never would have thought about that. So that helps me to know that
Yes.
that it's coming from
Yep.
someplace else, because it's
Yep.
so interesting. And sometimes the me that is, oh, there's one of the pictures. The me that is sitting to the side thinks to kind of goes, oh, I don't know that I want to answer that, you know.
Yeah. But you're learning too.
Yeah.
While this is happening, you're learning. You are such
Absolutely.
a sponge, you know, now since this is opened up for you. So you want every little bit of information
I do. I
that
do.
you can get that would help you.
I don't want to
That's
sleep
awesome.
through this. So the picture that you're showing right now, did that answer your question, Arla?
Yeah,
Sufficiently.
it does. Thank
But
you.
this picture is a before picture, and that tree, and that tree's gone now, but I used to sit there by that tree in that park, and I would meditate and just be very quiet and just be there. And at one point I found my initials on that tree. And Brian, there is a picture that has kind of a pink thing in the middle, the one that I said was sacred.
Well, I'm not sure if I have that one. Did you send it to me today?
Yeah. It was well, that's one of them. That one, if you look, you can see that tree is back behind this thing. This one was taken at 9:01 on May 12th, 2012. And May 22nd, 2012. That one was taken at 9:01. The one that I said was sacred has kind of a purple thing in the middle that is a portal. That was taken, I think, the last one was 9:02. These are a succession of pictures taken seconds apart. You see that tree is back behind there.
Yeah.
And then now, if you could find the purple one, that's the one. That was the first picture. That was taken at 9 o'clock in the morning. And that's the portal. And see that tree is behind there?
Yeah.
So, oh boy.
Did you want to run through all of them again in reverse? That's pretty cool.
If you want to. So
I mean, this does not look normal how this is kind of like framing.
Mhm.
That does not look like regular, like light or whatever they call that.
Yeah, that was, I did not see that till I saw the picture.
No, I mean, look at this here. How it's.
Yeah, I know. It's like it's got a floor.
Yeah.
But I looked them up again, and because I still have the original pictures on my camera. I have never sent this one to anyone because it's sacred to me.
Although I guess if it's hitting the ground, it might look like that, but I'm just not sure. I've never seen anything look like that before, though.
It's not actually hitting the ground. So go back to the next one again, or to the previous one again. So this was the first one. Then we have this until it forms. See that green? It's kind of, I don't know if the green is there, but there's one that has green in it that is like the final picture.
What, you want me to move to the next picture?
Yeah, move to the next one. See that the green is beginning to form on that across the just kind of
Yeah.
horizontal.
There we go. There we go. Look at that.
Yeah. That now I have been told that that's an ET, but that began with that purple portal, and then so this picture was less than 2 minutes from the first one.
Yeah.
So, and then the first picture that you showed was before and after.
Yeah. So this is a series of 4 pictures. This is the last one, and the one with the little square was the first one, kind of.
Right. Right. So I actually used that on my business card
Yeah. Wow.
because I think it's kind of cool.
Wow. Wow. Amazing.
So Arla, do you get anything from that? Or anybody else get anything from that?
I like the color of that long, what do you call it, stripe there, and that's also the first picture that you showed us with the woodpecker had something like that in it too. So I don't know if they're related. Same color.
Well, they were years apart in taking them, but I'm going to look at that too. And I had another picture that I just thought there was something wrong with the camera, and maybe that's exactly what it was, but it has kind of a whoosh of light coming through it. But, yeah, I find that I can't really try to take a picture like this.
No. The energy of the green, it's almost like it, did you feel like you were, when you were there taking the photo, that you were being given information?
At that time, that was in 2012. So I had not actually accepted that I had any gifts at that time.
This would not necessarily be that type of a feeling, but just like when you were there taking those photos, what was going on in your mind?
That was my meditation, my
Okay.
my quiet walk through the woods. I would take a 2-mile walk around, sometimes more than once a day, and just I would hug trees and talk to trees and do all that, but I didn't really think that I had any.
No.
I was just experiencing wonderful things.
Yeah. Meditation, that's the listening place. That's the place where we're given information. Now, that doesn't mean we're listening with our ears and hearing things, but that soul, that being that we are, is listening. And this very much looks like information being given from the ET realm, from the Star Nation, because I don't see a line, I see a circle.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the front horizontally of a circle. So
yeah, I see a circle too.
Yeah. So
I see
for
it as
me,
a circle.
Yeah. So, that's what it feels like for me, that you were at that time being given some information. Your soul being was actually in the listening phase, whether your conscious being realize that or not.
And that resonates because in 2013 is when, in April of 2013 is when I actually said, okay, they must be correct. Because I had some spontaneous things happen where I was able to give mediumship readings. But in 2012, the 5 years before, I had been told, because I was introduced to this at 60 and told that I had a mission. So I was deeply in a learning phase, but not really in an accepting phase.
Right.
You know, or believing that I had anything. And I do believe that everybody who wants to accept it can do all of it.
Oh, yes.
I don't think that there's anything special about me. I think that I made the decision to accept what's there.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think you were given so much information, and at that time you weren't really ready to understand it, but you were going to need that. So they were giving you stuff that you were going to need to do at some point. And for me, when I see these circles like this, it gives me chills because I see that as a beginning of an information, and that it's going to circle around and be a part of something. You're going to bring it back, circle around, and use what you're given, even though that conscious being that we are in the 3D, we don't understand it.
And people would always say, I got to download. I had no clue what they were talking about.
Well, you were downloaded.
Yeah, but I get downloads, and now they almost take over. And I have to tell you, I have a female red belly who is just, she's very curious. She's just looking in at me, and but I have had experiences where an animal would be like a dog comes next to me and I suddenly go into download mode. My whole body might just go somewhere. And that still happens. It happened not too long ago with the crows. And I still keep getting, I know I'm getting something. I believe I get something every time I do light language.
Yes.
But I don't have to know whatever it is. I just know that I'm collaborating with somebody, and whenever it's necessary, then that's when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So there's my portal right there.
Yeah. That's cool. Hey, Arla's got some pictures. I think you got a few more, and sorry I was away. I've been having problems. I think somebody was trying to hack me with that thing. I may never be able to sign out of Facebook again, because apparently I will lose everything if I do.
Oh,
And I've got all my pictures on there from like 12 years of, that would be a disaster. So you caught me at the wrong time. I'm trying to do the show and this guy's messaging me, and he sounded like Tom. He even called me Tot. And even sounded like his sense of humor. He's getting me to do all this stuff while I'm trying to do the show. So I don't know, whatever.
Yeah,
I'm afraid to sign up, because apparently if I do, I won't ever be able to get back on again, which would be a disaster for me. But
yeah, I don't sign out.
I have people trying to dupe me all the time, but I never fall for it. But I was just in the middle of a show and the guy's talking to me like Pappy, and I don't know, whatever. Anyway, let's not worry about that right now. Anyway,
I always ask a question. I always ask them a question that they should know about me.
I did. I said, let me give you a security question. What's my nickname? And you said Tot. But maybe Tom had taught on my messenger, right? Should have asked him something else.
Yeah, yeah. But and I friended somebody just recently who I was convinced was real, but then
Yeah.
I'm getting sick of these people. All the time I get these people to say, have you heard the good news about the grant or whatever, and
I think I just got one while we've been on here. I didn't open it up, but I got, how you see the preview and it said something about, hey, this person, I think this person, they just got killed in an accident.
Yeah. Or have you seen this before? Whatever. Have you seen
Yeah.
this? Yeah, there's all different kinds. I never fall for it except this time because I was so involved in the show or whatever, but hopefully I didn't get burned.
It'll be
so
all
anyway,
right. It'll be all right.
Let's just kind of clear that
Yep.
up.
It'll be
Right
all
now.
Okay.
right.
So anyway, I wanted to show you because Arla's got some pictures she wants to share too, but I put one of mine in that kind of relates to these, and I'm not sure. I want your ladies' opinions on it. I always just thought it was just like something from the sun. I thought it was just natural, but I don't know. I don't know what you girls think. So let's have a quick look at that. What do you think of this? Is that natural?
But
I
what's
know that
natural?
Right.
What's natural?
Yeah, I know. Then you have to define natural, but
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
the
I don't
thing
know. I mean, is it like just a camera thing from?
when I have taken pictures that have balls of light like that in it, but I've never had one like that. But I have had some that had that I was told that is a feature that the camera does.
Yeah.
And I know this one lady that she told me that she was so powerful that somebody sitting next to her could take that kind of a picture. And it's like, no, everybody's camera will take that kind of a picture if it's just right.
If somebody tells you they're so powerful because of this,
Yeah.
that, and the other thing, chances are they're not.
I actually,
You know what I mean? If you have to say, if you have to say you're
a
wizard or something, you're probably not a wizard.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I agree, and we're not friends anymore. But
yeah.
What's in this picture? What's in this thing right here? That's a real weird one because it looks like
it is.
Yeah, that's what I think. Some of it is stuff that's.
I don't know. Why don't you ask your guys, Kathleen? What do they think?
I was just going to. Let me put my hand.
I mean, the guy in the picture is pretty cool.
What they said is half and half, meant to confuse you.
Half and half.
Yeah, so some of it's part of the camera and some of it is not. And I was just trying to figure out, I think that the big pink thing is part of the camera.
This thing?
I don't, but I think that there are things in there that are kind of disguised. Is this something that somebody might be like, is his name Little Buddy or Little Bud or?
Yeah, I got a guy called Little Bud.
Yeah, it feels like somebody is just kind of throwing things in there and mixing it up on your behalf.
Well, that's something he would definitely do, right, Ma?
Yeah. Have you got an insignia or something on that cap you've got on?
Yeah, it's a. You ever heard of a band called Government Mule?
Yes.
It's a jackass on the, which is perfect for me, right?
It doesn't look like a jackass.
Oh, it is. Or at least it was, and it was when I had it on my head. I don't.
Oh, it's morphed. I don't know what into. But yeah, and one of the things that does happen with these camera things that happen there are things that can be put in that, and you know, sure, Brian, that things can be in a picture that are not in the picture when you took it,
Oh,
or
absolutely.
vice versa.
Absolutely.
So they can use whatever, something that's already done. But if you look at that, the person who is not open to seeing things looks at it and goes, wow, that's a really cool camera thing. And they begin to look closer and closer and closer, and they go, well, wait a minute, what's that?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it begins to draw people in, and with the possibility of them opening and seeing something else.
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought it was, oh, go ahead.
I would agree with that. I think that you see what you need to see.
Yeah, you do.
And, I think that I kind of feel good because I don't need to see a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
Anyway, I just thought it was a pretty cool picture. So
that
I was
is
always just wondering.
awesome.
I was just wondering what it was all about. I think this
That's
is
awesome.
a stump here, Beans, but there's a yellow ball making it look.
Yeah, but there's something across that.
Yeah, there is. And it
It
looks
looks
like
like
it's
light language.
spiraled.
It
It,
almost looks like it's light language, doesn't it?
yes, it's spiraled. And whoa. Actually, look at it at the bottom of that, Brian.
Where?
And down at the bottom of that yellow
This?
golden. Yes, you see
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of times when light language is written, what it looks like sticks or something across there, that are up above that. Can you see that go up to almost the middle? That right there. And what I see is it looks like it's spiraled. It looks like it's rods of light actually that
Mhm.
are spiraled.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Can you see the spiral? What about you, Beans? Do you see the spiraling on that?
Yeah, and I think that's a camera effect, but it still comes off as
Yeah.
spiraling.
Yeah.
But
That
if you want to see something interesting, uh, then underneath here in this area down here to underneath there looks like there's a face in there.
yeah. Oh,
And,
I wouldn't
and
doubt that.
the face goes down here almost to the bottom, this little light bar at the bottom.
Yep.
There's an eye right there, an eye right there. I don't know if you can see my mouse. Can you see my mouse?
No. Well, how will we see your mouse? I'm the one controlling it.
Oh yeah.
Put a dot there, Beans.
That was
Huh?
that was almost as
Can
dumb
you-
as something I would have said, Beans.
Can you put a dot there, Beans, like you do sometimes?
I got in there. I don't know how to get out of there.
He's the
Okay. Yeah.
So, but Kathleen, you didn't know I had a Sasquatch friend called Little Buddy or Little Bud, did you?
Oh yeah, you told me. I knew that.
Okay. Okay.
Todd, when you can, you don't got to do it right now. Turn that the whole picture upside down and look at it.
Oh my
I'm not
gosh.
sure. I'm not sure if I can do that.
Well, you don't have to do it here, but you can do it when you've got it.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool, Beans.
Do that now. I'll get rid of
Oh
it
yeah.
so you can look at it. Okay. Now, can you see
Oh
it?
yeah.
I
I
do
can
see
see.
it.
I see
Yeah,
so- I
there's
see
his
something,
eyes.
but-
Yeah.
So
But-
you know, Arla, you said to turn that upside down. My first aura picture, first of all, this was very, very early, like maybe the first month that I was introduced to it. My first aura picture was covered in white film, and if you turned it upside down, it had angel wings on it.
Awesome.
Hey Brian, you got a message box open. Did you want that message box open for the world to see?
Oh.
Not really. Anyway, I just thought I'd show you that one so we can move on to some other pictures. I just think it's really beautiful, the colors and everything too, right?
It
It
is.
is,
It's
it
awesome.
is. And I
But
think you should,
there's other things going on here. Why is there a band here? Why is it in bands? That's not
yeah,
normal.
Like
Yes.
this?
Yeah, there's a band here, and this is a band here. It goes down all the way
Yep.
over to there. This
That's
is
not normal light stuff?
no, it's not. It's like lights would go all the way through, right? But it stops. It's like, why is the light stopped right at this band? And these lights, why are these stopped? There's,
Okay,
that's not what do you call it? The physics of light.
Well, yeah, I mean, you used to be a semi or professional photographer, so you would know.
I was an amateur photographer, but yeah. But this is
Amateur
all
professional.
amateur professional. Yeah. Took
You
a
just
lot of
like taking
pictures.
pictures of the pretty ladies. That's what that's the
I
only
did,
reason.
yeah. And I like to control my own lighting. But
But you know
That's
what,
really cool.
you know enough that it's not it doesn't
it's not what you would expect from a lens flare.
Yeah.
my
There's a
brother was
lot
a very, yeah, there is. My brother was a very accomplished photographer and took lots and lots of pictures. And I took a college course in photography, and my brother lent me a reporter's camera, and I'm going in, trying to impress everybody. And I set the camera down on the desk, and I turned a knob, and little pieces fell, just kind of sprung out. I broke the camera in front of everybody. I did, and my impression, my credibility went just completely out the window.
Should we move on?
Yes, please.
Now,
Oh,
I just wanted to say before you get into the topic of this, I find this pretty interesting because hang on a second. Gonna move as I find it pretty interesting because not too long ago, my clan gifted us something that looked identical to this, a bird's nest.
really?
Yeah, they just placed it somewhere where we could find it, and it was, out of place. It wasn't where the bird had left it. So I find that kind of a neat coincidence, or well, we know coincidences aren't what they seem, but I don't know. I just found that interesting. So what's the story behind this?
Well, very interesting. The deck railing is about what maybe 3 feet high or something like that. 2.5. I don't know how. I don't measure very well, but that is placed along the side of the deck. It's not possible for it to have blown in. There is not anything above that it could have dropped. It was placed just exactly like that.
Yeah.
And right after I moved here and had asked for a sign, are you still with me, even though I've moved, And I asked different people, I said, look at this. How could this happen? It's not possible for that to have fallen. It had to be carried and placed. So the fact that that happened to you is my confirmation that it is what I think it is. And I think was placed there by Sasquatch.
That's how detailed they are. That's how detailed they are, because that rings a bell with me too. The fact that I found one, it looks exactly the same, kind of adds credence and confirms, what happened to you. I mean, and that's how they do stuff. I mean, they're incredible.
And I'm awestruck by the fact that they're still with me. I could not, of course, save the bird's nest. I left it out on the deck until it got rained on so much that it disintegrated, but because it was made out of mud and all that. But it couldn't have, there was no way, there's no way that could have fallen so beautifully.
So let's
there.
let's put this into perspective for the people listening in, and just to show you how detailed and the abilities of these people. So where do you live again?
I live in an apartment complex on the second story in Ellisville, Indiana.
Okay.
There's a stand of trees, but not close enough that it would have dropped.
Right. Okay. Well, here's my point. I live in British Columbia, Canada,
Yeah.
and I don't have a shred of doubt, because looking at it, that the two are connected, just to connect some dots. So, you can people listening in can take it where they may, but it just shows you the abilities of these people and how detailed they are. And I just got some energy, just getting lit up, and it just shows you that they will do something. To one person to show another person. It doesn't matter the distance, the time, or any of that stuff. And that seems to be the case here. When I saw that, I immediately thought that. And yeah, they're just like buzzing in my head right now. So
Yeah.
that's what's happening.
I have reduced, my energy is not like it was last time, but I also had to take some strong steroids for my foot, but and I also kind of wanted to be a little more present today.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
should we move on to the next picture?
Yes.
I think we found out the reason for this picture.
Yeah, I think so.
And that's pretty
and
incredible.
I appreciate it. Oh, this was just pictures of some of my light language stuff.
Yeah. And thank you very much for mine. I got a couple.
And I've sent them to Arla and Mike.
Frank Oliver Beans.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I'll have to send some. It might take a few weeks before I get back to the post office for
Mr.
the other
Rigatoni.
young man.
Is that light language?
It is. What happened was I don't consider myself much of a creative person. I grew up in a family of 9 people. All of them had very creative abilities except me, and I was an accountant. But I considered myself, when I was normal, to be a creative problem solver. But one day I saw a picture of a necklace, and I just thought I could make that. And I went out and bought hundreds of dollars worth of beads and things, and then started creating, and they evolved into this. And then I would give them away, and people would feel things from them and get messages from them. And I asked, what are these things? And I was told they're light language activators.
So how does the design translate to the light language? Is the design
It's the
specific to the
energy.
message, or?
It's the energy, and I don't know what messages there might be. Some people do get messages, but I just consider them the energy of whatever is meant to be. Some people use them as pendulums. I handed one to a friend one time. It was so funny because I just handed it to her. She fell on the floor laughing. She couldn't. And then we both just spent probably 20 minutes just laughing. And, if that's all it does. Another thing, an interesting thing, I had a short-term relationship in October. And one of my friends who is an intuitive, I had given him one of the light language things a year or so before. He told me that suddenly it was hanging on his calendar, not being moved, and it suddenly broke. And what he said is, oh, I hope that nothing happened between Kathleen and the guy, because everybody was hoping that was, and I thought it was magical too, but whatever. But there was a nice lesson involved. But it broke, and he has not. And he said, as soon as I saw that break, I thought something happened. and I hadn't had any contact with this guy, the owner of the light language, but there is an energy that he got the message something happened. And I have people just, they hang them in their room, or I have one lady that will hold on to it when she wants to feel good, when she wants energy, she will hold on to it.
Awesome.
So I don't know. I don't try to define it.
But do you feel that you're being guided to make a specific design specific
No.
to the language? No?
No, I have a whole bunch of supplies, and I
Just put something together.
I just kind of throw them together. I don't know whether it's going to be really long or really short.
Okay, but how do you connect it to a light language then is my point.
It's the energy that comes from it. If the people are supposed to know that it's light language, they will feel it.
You know, when
Now-
we wrap up these pictures, I want you and Arla to have a discussion on all the different kinds of light language, because Arla has some pictures coming up too that I guess there's a lot of variations of light language.
Oh,
So
yeah,
we can discuss that. But should we move on to the next picture?
sure.
Oh, here's your little oh, it's kind of small, sorry, but that's as big as I can get it.
Yeah.
Here's one of your crow
Well-
friends, right?
Well, he showed up just as I was sending you those pictures.
Okay, well, we'll move on because it's so tiny, but we can see
Yeah.
it here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, here's some of Arla's stuff. So she wanted to discuss this with you.
Okay.
This is a stone, one of the stone people that faces manifest on it.
Hold
And
on,
that's
hold
happening.
on a second, Arla. What's all that talking going on?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to close this door. There's a school right next door to me. Hold on
Okay.
just a minute.
Do you mind? Yeah, thanks. Because I was
No,
wondering, I was trying to find out if it was me.
No, it was me.
Okay. There
Sorry,
we
bro.
go. That's good. That's good. That's great.
I have to tell you though, the other day I was doing a reading for somebody, and that noise went on the whole time that we were talking, well over an hour, but she only heard it when her deceased husband came through and said his name.
Mhm.
Wow.
So
Okay, go ahead, Arla.
Okay. This is one of the stone people that is here. And one of the things that are happening with the stone people is they're working with many others to bring forth the wisdom that started in the Precambrian times. We're going to have a show on that on May 25th. But this particular stone sits in a particular place, and there are many faces that will just show up. I like this one. He's very interesting. It's kind of a profile, but you still get the other side of him. And you may see him and you may not. But
I actually see two faces.
yeah, and there will be more than one face. Faces will even overlay onto each other or be a part of another face. You might find this interesting up there on top. He has bird poop because there's a lot of birds here. He doesn't seem to mind. You see his one eye is about in the center. That's his left eye. And the bridge of his nose, and his nose comes down, and then you will see his mouth. But what I saw, and you can go to the next one, Todd.
So you're saying this has got something to do with light language, right?
Oh, it does.
Okay.
There's
go ahead.
light language written on him. And, you know, we
Oh.
talked about,
I can see this here. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
look at that. Looks like
Yeah.
6 RPS or something. Doesn't
now
it?
remember, you can't always read these with our alphabet because some of them are just singular symbols. Some of them have more than, they could be a sentence, the
And I
whole
see
thing.
more over here too.
Yeah. And
Go
then
ahead.
up at the top is the pyramid or the triangle. That's very significant now. It's actually an open door for many of the beings that are here assisting us now. And talking about triangles or pyramids, now that that's been said, just be aware of what you're seeing in your day-to-day life. They will start to manifest and show. But both of these,
I've
Go
been
ahead.
waking up, and as soon as I open my eyes, I see grids or shapes,
yes, symbols.
like symbols. I have seen symbols that were, I'm sure it's now looking back, it's light language, but I've seen almost sentences of squiggly lines and
Yeah.
circles, and
Oh yeah,
and they're in a pattern, but not a pattern.
right. Right. It's that thing you know because you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, okay, I'm going to totally explain to you exactly how this is, because one of the things with the light language is it's multifunctional.
Oh yeah.
You know, it is not a language as we know a language. This is that heart, or what Kashima called the knowing. It is that language that you connect to in that space.
Yeah. Do you want to talk
So,
a little bit? Do you want to talk a little bit about the knowing? Because I've had that. You know, you get a download and then you just have knowing. So, I mean, I
well,
think I know how it works, but what's your understanding of the knowing? Well, I guess it's just messages from the universe that they're just teachings, right? Is that basically it?
it is teachings, but it is the knowing comes to you in that space of that love. You call it the love zap.
Yeah.
It's that love that humans do not recognize in their normal 3D state.
Ah, wait a minute. So you tap into that energy, that love energy, and
And
that's
you
where the
know,
knowing, and that's where the knowing is, right?
yes, it is.
Okay. So
That
that makes sense.
yeah,
Can
that
I
is the knowing.
can I interject?
Hmm.
No, no,
From-
just wait. No, I'm just joking. Of course you can.
Well, they want to actually, but we are one.
Mhm.
And because we are one, at any given time, we can access all knowledge.
Yeah.
We don't need all knowledge, and our brains can't possibly process the knowledge that is there. And we can't, because we are operating as humans, we cannot understand all the magnificence that there is, but we have access to it. And when it's kind of like, the knowing is kind of like opening the door to what you're going to need at some time. You're going to need to know that. So
Well,
it's,
this is a little different than that need to know. This is actually where, and the way Kashima brought it to me, and this term has caused a lot of people to bring out their understanding of the knowing. And I like that. I like that your piece of the puzzle fits into it. Because it's not like it's written in, that's kind of funny, Arla, written in stone. It is that place when you go, you are in the knowing, you are in your complete state. You are 3D, 4D, 5D. You can continue on. You know everything, like you were saying, that you
Mhm.
need to know. But at that point, the time of the knowing, you also, everything that you do is done through that love
Yeah.
that we talk about that's given. So it's all kind of the same. It's like puzzle pieces of it all. But when we are in the knowing, we know everything.
Yeah.
And
So
it's kind of, it's a little confusing because you don't know where you figured that out.
But you know
You
what?
know.
You don't even, you
no, you don't.
you just
Yeah.
have it, you just know, and it
I
doesn't
know,
really
but
matter. I
no,
just
it
wanted to make,
doesn't.
I just wanted to make one point. When I had my love zap, one of the big things, realizations I had, and there were many, one of the ones was, I had this knowing, and I didn't have any questions or the need to answer any questions. And the word that came to mind is, it just is. So I didn't have to be overloaded with all these questions and wonderings. It was just like perfect unity and oneness. And I had a knowing, but I also didn't have to ask anything because it didn't matter.
Yeah.
I knew.
Yeah.
Right.
You were who you are. And that's what the knowing does, is it takes us to the birth point. The birth point of who we are. And that's not, I'm not talking about physical birth point like you're birthed. This is the beginning of your energy. So it's the beginning of all energy.
Yeah.
I was given a kind of an explanation, part of the knowing, I guess, but I said that they explain things in ways that I can understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was given the picture of like the Big Bang. And in the Big Bang, all souls or whatever energy were thrust out away from the essence of the creator. And I'm trying to use human words, and it's not necessarily going to happen, but the essence that is the creator, the beginning, the pure energy is love.
Yeah.
That's the base chemical or energy or whatever you want to call it. So we were all thrust out into all of these different excuse me, you don't want me to talk? But we were thrust out into these different experiences. And our goal is to get back into that center of love. That's where we were thrust out, and we're trying to get our way back. And by the more we remember, the closer we get. The more we have these knowings, the more things that we do, the more magic we experience, the closer we get. I know, how many lifetimes does it take? What does it matter?
It doesn't.
But and the more
Jenny Jablonski's got 7,300,000 incarnations. So that's, I don't know if that helps.
Yeah.
She's been around.
Well,
yeah, gosh,
She's been around.
the universe is, pretty big and pretty old.
Yep.
I
it
wanted
is.
you go. I was going to mention something. It kind of fits into this topic a little bit, but I find it interesting. But people talk about near-death experiences.
Mhm.
Well, I had a pre-birth experience.
Yep.
I had a pre-birth experience. Like this happened to me twice, where I was just someplace, like looking over my porch. All of a sudden, I'm in a whole different reality. Like literally, not just imagining things, or just like not just getting a download. I could actually see myself there. One involved a praying mantis being, but the other one involved myself and another person. And we looked like we were around like a war room or a table or something, planning something. And I knew that we were planning what we were going to do before we came into this incarnation. And there was a huge knowing there, right? And, you know, I mean, they always say that you plan your birth parents, you plan your experiences, you do all this and whatever. Well, I actually experienced that and I'm getting lit up again. Or with energy, right? Like that's how one of the ways they connect with me is a confirmation energy when I'm talking something that's truthful that they want to emphasize. So I was actually in a pre-birth planning of what I was going to do in this lifetime, and I think this is a very important lifetime because of the things that we're going through, the conscious shift, the raising of our vibration, however you want to say it. It's there's something big going on, and so I experienced that pre-birth planning. And I don't know.
I did. I had that too.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
You're not allowed to on my show. No, I'm just joking. Go ahead, Kathleen. I'm totally joking. Let's hear about yours.
No, it's actually, I have to gloss over it. I ask a question about my parents and why certain things happened.
Mhm.
And I was given our planning session and given the reasons why I experienced the things that I did experience. And
Wow.
I came out of it with a different feeling towards what happened to me as a child.
Yeah.
And I came out of it with gratitude and forgiveness. And I will just say the one thing that in this vision and talking about what was happening, one of my parents stepped forward and said, I love her enough to volunteer to be the bad guy.
Ah.
And so I know why the experiences happened. And I know that in the state of love, when we plan our incarnations, we have to make decisions about the hard stuff too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And people who the souls have to volunteer to do things that we cannot understand that are for our benefit. So when something appears to be trying, I find the benefit. And one of I had that experience of very intense pain yesterday, pain I've never experienced in my life. But I have to understand pain in order to help people.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
have to understand that the pain takes precedence. That's what you focus on. You can't focus when you're in that kind of pain. You can't focus on other things.
Pain is a call to action. Take care of this now. You know,
Yeah,
stop, pay attention,
that too.
take action.
I learned a couple things that I should change in my lifestyle too, but that
But I think these pre-birth experiences are much rarer than the near-death experiences, at least from what I haven't heard about many of them, but it's a gift. It's a gift because it lets you know that, you know, like we are infinite beings. It lets you know that we were somewhere before we were born. It's an absolute gift. So I loved your account, by the way. That was so beautiful.
It was very healing. It was very healing.
Yeah.
And confusing as a human.
Did you ladies, I was mentioning after the pictures, I was going to bring this up and then we kind of got sidetracked. But did you girls, I mean, I don't profess to know anything about light language. I think I sang it once, but but other than that, I really don't know much about it. So why don't you talk about the different ways, different types of light language, and just in, in general and specific.
Go ahead, Kathleen.
I believe that just about anything that expresses love, joy, which
Yep.
is really the same thing, is light language. So my daughter paints. I believe that's her light language. I think when people take care of animals, the common things that are out there at this point, people dance, people sing, people write in several different ways, people speak it. Yeah, my hands go crazy every once in a while, but and there's energy that flows, but I don't know that I think that there's really any limits to the manifestation of light language. Perhaps your light language is this show, because you are coming from
Very much
love.
so.
You are communicating, you are reaching people's hearts. It's clearer what you're doing, but you're still doing
me
the
and
same thing.
Mr. Beans. He's my compadre.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's just like meditation. You can meditate in so many different ways, but in light language, I mean, I think that the energy flows very strong to other people when you are expressing it as a language or dance or something that is observed in some way by other people, but is not when you are painting and drawing something. You're increasing your joy.
Yeah.
And I believe that spreading energy, connecting energy, connecting that joy is light language. So I don't see any limits to it.
Could you say light language in a lot of applications is language of the heart, right?
It is.
Yes, absolutely.
It definitely is.
It would be really good to learn the language of the heart. That's a good plan.
Or to join language lessons of the heart, a show put on by Frank Oliver Beans, otherwise known as Michael Harrell.
Yep.
This thing about the beginning of creation, I think you're really over the target there. I spent a lot of time looking at the beginning of creation, and this foundation of the universe is as absolute inclusivity and unconditional love. And when God emerged as a location, as an entity, that brought about polarity, and polarity brought about duality. So the very first thing that emerged out of creation was what they call Lucifer, which is the pain, the anguish, because that's the opposite pole of absolute inclusivity is this exclusive, painful stuff. And as the universe and God himself matures, because when people go to the Godhead, what Brian was talking about, the near-death experience, when people go to the Godhead, they go, oh, I died and now I'm in God and it's all beautiful and loving and there is nothing but love, and right? Well, yeah, but that's because there's this wave of what you would call good and evil. There's a wave of evil that came by, and that got mixed up with the part of creation at the very beginning. And what is needed by all of us now is this great wave of awakening, is the ability to take these great pains and suffering that seems to have been on us for thousands of years, and we're now able to transmute it, to evolve it, to embrace it, to put our love into the darkest places. And that changes the whole universe, because there was wars in heaven, there's wars on earth, and there's wars in outer space. And that means that evil hasn't worked itself out. But we hear that the wars in outer space are coming to a close, and there's less and less wars on earth now. So to me, it's all a bonus. If you're going to make the kingdom of heaven on earth, then you have to work on the pain, you have to work on the abuse, you have to work on the neglect and the suffering and stuff, and really transmute that stuff. And I think we're winning. That's my
Yep.
message. We're
Yep.
winning.
I
That's
actually
what-
got
yeah.
a message through channeling that I do remember, and it was love is winning.
It is. It very definitely is. And the interesting thing about the light language being brought to light, it seems like, is the fact that humans seem to need some form of physical communication. I think you touched on that, Kathleen. And what that light language does is to transmute all of that other. I know for years and years, I had a lot of people on me a lot about, what I shared as far as the Sasquatch are doing. And some people did some really horrible things to me. But I never once did anything but send them peace and love. And it's getting to the space, using that light language in whatever way you use it. You don't even have to have a physical way of using it, just is. And so sharing that it just is an energy itself, and does help to transmute that. One of the things Kashima told me a few years ago was, because we always talk about that 100th monkey thing where all of these people are going to do this, so all of these others are going to do it. So we need this quantity of beings to bring this about. One of the things he said was the quantity is not necessarily needed at this time. It is the quality of those light beings coming into this. And I see that so much in so many people, the quality of that love and that energy that they're bringing into it. And as that happens, then the quantity kicks back in, and you see more and more and more of this quality. And I'm not talking about, oh, wow, I'm better than anybody else.
No,
That's not what this is at all. It's just about being in that space and knowing that that's what you're supposed to be doing. And it's even more than that. It's just what you do.
I think when you make the choice to do this work, whatever this work is, it's a big choice, and it's not always accepted. I have been brought to tears a few times by people making judgments, but I've also been brought to joy.
Yes.
But I feel that what we need to remember eventually is that there really is no evil.
Yeah.
There is experience. There are things that people do, but if we did not have the contrast to look at, how would we learn? Is what I feel like. So I see certain things that are happening in the world that I think are just, this is too absurd. Why would somebody do that? And then I just have to say, thank you, because you really just made me think. It's
Yeah.
made me make a choice of who I want to be. And I think that the more we strive towards that center of love, that's just what we're supposed to do. And I think that when the Big Bang or whatever it was that spread us all out, I think the first thing that happened was surprise and fear. Suddenly I was in this beautiful place of love, and then I got kicked out to be on my own journey, and I'm scared and I'm surprised, and I got to figure out how I'm going to get back there. So I started out with fear, and fear is the root of the contrast that we need to look at, that we need to learn from. And I was in that fear without any relief for probably the first 60 years in this incarnation. I have never had a near-death experience, but I've had the feeling of a near-death experience.
Right.
Of where I went into some sort of place that I didn't want to come back from.
Yes.
Having an experience with the Sasquatch people, a real true connection, there's so many points that are just like having the knowings that you get are just like what people come back with from a near-death experience.
That time when when they flooded me, and I can't even explain it. But
You said
Who flooded you? Did you know who flooded? Was it the Star People or the Sasquatch?
that night, well, the Star People have done it several times, but that particular time when I met the Sasquatch.
And they flooded you with love and stuff, and just
Well, it's just an energy that floods over you, and you're just there. And suddenly, okay, all right, it's real. They're right here.
You said something that struck me. I think there's always free will involved in this, but I think you said something like it was hard, or it was a decision or whatever to live with this knowing, or with this, with spreading, what you're supposed to do. But to me, after that love zap that I had, I don't think there was any, I don't think I still had free will, but there's no way you can turn back from that. Once you experience that kind of stuff, you're on your path, I think, because I can't imagine being any other way.
I know many people, not many, but a few, who have decided to stop at a certain point in that journey.
Okay.
Because I am, I guess they feel they're the best they can be or whatever, but they make the decision, and that they change their mind or something.
Okay.
I don't know that I could possibly change my mind, but I know that some people can.
Yeah,
and
they do.
Yeah, and I have my times where I think, like when somebody brings me to tears because they say, I don't need a medium because I've got Jesus Christ. Well, I do too, plus everybody else. So I can one up.
There's a lot of people that are non-player characters, NPC, non-player characters. Well, they just really don't want to go in, and they don't want to be a light warrior. They don't want to be fighters. They just want to, be simple people, and I think that's okay.
It is because that's the contrast that we get to look at.
Yeah.
But I see there was a famous metaphysical author that suddenly pulled all of her materials
Yep.
and decided that that was all evil.
Yep.
Huh.
Yep. She did.
And
She was such a wonderful spirit. Oh my goodness.
What happened to her?
she married a Christian, I think.
Yeah, she had done. I actually have some of her cards.
Oh, we all have. I
Yeah,
mean,
and she had just wonderful, wonderful energy. And but that was the path she chose. So this is something she needed to learn in
so what
her
do we
life.
learn from that, though?
Yep.
So my learning from that is don't allow somebody else to make my decisions.
Yes.
And I
Very definitely.
actually, I mean, I lived that. I lived that for 50 years. And I just made a decision with the guy that I thought was, I thought he was magic. I thought it was it. But I made the decision, and he made the decision that our paths are not the same.
Yeah.
You know,
I
what you just said right there was you know, you kind of didn't really come out and say it this way, but when you take all of reality and you put it in onto yourself and said, what does this do to me? Does this hurt me? Does this help me? Can I process this, or is this something that's not even mine? You know, when you take that loop, you take this loop of all the stuff you see out there and you put it in yourself and you go, what is mine? What do I want to do with this? You know, it's that inner loop, that continuous inner loop that's where all the magic happens, because you can't really process anything out there. You can't change how somebody does anything or acts anyway, but you can change your reaction to it, your understanding. You can change whether you love or not, or you want to put up a, you know, border, a
Whoa.
gate, you know.
I just had somebody float by. Uh, I lost my train of thought. Wow.
Well,
Long
your
time.
number one thing in this life, from what you've talked about, is what it is you have to do in
Yeah.
this life. So if someone, regardless of who or what kind of relationship or anything else, is going to be a deterrent to that, then you know you have to stop and say, it's like Kashima said, don't judge as good or bad.
Right.
Look at this and say, is my energy compatible with that? And if it's not, you just walk away from it. And
And I have not always been strong enough to walk away.
so you've learned a lot. You've learned a lot in a short span of time.
Yeah, but when you write the story, right, the story is not over till you say it's over. If you
Mhm.
stop writing the story when you were 50,
Yep.
no, you keep writing the story, and you know, when your story has a happy ending, the whole thing makes sense.
Yes.
Well, one thing I know, I'm going to be living at least till 100. So I just know that. So, and I hope that I live I know that my mind will still be good, because when you know, if not, then, well, I'll still be functioning. I will still do whatever is supposed to be until the day I leave this incarnation. But I have to, I can't let anyone
Yes.
stop this. The only one that could stop it is me.
That
But I'm not interested in stopping it. I can't. Too
No, I
much
don't think
fun
you are.
on this side. Too much fun.
Well, you're driven, you're guided, you're you're passionate about it, so I don't see it
Yeah.
stopping.
Yeah,
I feel the same way. I don't think any of us will. None of us four anyway.
We're
I want-
coming up on 3 hours now,
Yeah.
so I think we should
I-
like frame it to all the stuff that's
Yeah.
really important, all really important stuff.
Yeah,
Right
I was
now.
just, and I was going to say Kathleen's probably amazed that we've gone that long because I didn't think you were going to go this long. But is there anything that your guides? Is there anything that your guides want to share with any of us as individuals, or just a general message? Did you want to ask?
I didn't, I really wasn't in the place, but let me just see whether they have anything.
If you want to.
Let me just get to see what they might have. They just said, keep on keeping on, and know that you're right, that you are on your path, and don't worry about anyone pushing you off of it. We send you our love. We remind you that we are here and we wish to work with you. So let us be part of your team. I think that was it.
It looked like it by the way you ended it.
Sometimes they jump out kind of quickly.
Yeah. Is there anything else on your ladies' hearts or minds that you wanted to share before we wrap it up? Or
I want to send my love to all of you and my gratitude. I feel that the messages I've gotten lately were that something big is coming. And maybe this is it.
do you feel? Let me just ask you: do you feel that it's? I feel that it's good. I feel like there's.
Oh yeah.
A great. Yeah. Oh, I just got. Woo. Yeah, I feel it's going to be beautiful. But
yeah.
But you feel that too, right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
I think we're going to have a fake alien invasion, and it's going to be like the best movie in the whole world. And everywhere you look in the sky, there'll be these, fake UFOs. It'll be like fantastic. You know what I mean? How much fun will that be? With like laser beams and stuff. It'll be great.
Yeah, well, they're already here, so.
Oh my goodness.
And they're laughing.
Arla, anything you wanted to say before we wrap her up?
Just, I'm sending everybody peace and love, because peace and love go hand in hand. If you have love, you have peace. If you have that love inside you, you have that peace. And
wisdom. And wisdom.
Yeah, and share it. Don't keep it. Share it. Give it out every chance you get. There's so many ways to share love. Walk around with a smile on your face all day long. That's loving yourself when you're not smiling for somebody else, but you're smiling for yourself.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say that Kathleen has invited the three of us, that was quite the honor, onto her channeling Facebook group. So I would like to pop in when I can. So I know Arla does, and maybe Mr. Beans will want to. So just send us out those reminders. And you have it every second Thursday?
Well, we have it every Thursday, but we don't always have guests. So it's a group.
You don't
that
always have
has-
flesh and blood guests, right?
well, oh yeah, well, we always have those guests, but
But you've got
there's
a
the
you've got a
core
small
group-
you got a core group, right? And
Yeah.
once in a while you invite other people in, yeah.
right. So
Well, I think Ma Cobbler would fit in just perfect.
yeah. Well, all three of you are most
Yep.
welcome, and the
Yep.
it changes based on whoever it is, and there is a question and answer time, so that can get interesting. So, and I'm learning a
Yeah.
whole lot from this experience.
I hope,
So-
We all
I hope you don't get gout after this show. I feel guilty that we gave you gout last time.
No, you didn't give me gout.
So
But
that'll
besides
ruin
that,
our
it was-
reputation. Come on the
it
Pork and
was
Beans
a-
show and see if you get gout.
No, I didn't get that until Wednesday. But
Bite your tongue, Michael Harold.
No curses.
we don't believe in that. But nope, that was my blessing to endure.
Yeah.
So
All right. Anything else you wanted to say just to end the show? Because I guess we're gonna sign off in a minute or two.
Dead, peace and love, right?
Yeah, peace and
That's
love.
it.
Peace and love.
Absolutely.
Old hippies on this side.
Yeah.
Well, look at Ma's an old hippie. I'm an old hippie.
Brian didn't make
Yeah,
it.
me too.
He
Me
was
too.
he was a crooner. He was like a crooner before.
A crooner hippie.
You were-
I was
I was
was
still a
married.
hippie, but I just had good taste in music. Like I don't think music. This is like a lot of people just they follow one genre of music. I think music is good, and you shouldn't be putting it on. That was from the old days. If it's good music, it's good music, right?
Do you
You know?
know Pete Seeger?
Yeah.
I saw him in person when I was younger and ran up and hugged him. He didn't appreciate it. But I was married to a folk singer.
Ah,
So anyway,
yeah.
on that, it's a beautiful experience. Thank you. And I will be the first to punch the leave button.
Well, hang on a
So-
second.
All
Don't you
right.
want to hear our outro, and then you said you
Oh,
made
yeah.
it all the way through. So, on behalf of Port Cunningham and the world's handsomest man, Frank Oliver Beans, and the diva of mystery,
ah,
the magnificent, mysterious Ma Cobbler. This has been the Pork and Beans Show. Our special guest, Kathleen Whitehead. We love you. You're part of the family, part of the show now. And thank you so much for appearing with us. And I'm sure we'll probably
Thank you.
see you again.
That would be fun. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the Pork and Beans Show on Facebook.
and YouTube.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Sasquatch BC, The True Story, / the Pork and Beans Show. And that has every episode of the Pork and Beans Show edited, and a bunch of
And
my
share.
stuff too.
Share,
Yeah.
share, share.
Like and share, like and share.
Share if you care.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
like.
everybody. Well, this was like just a good old
And
discussion
like,
amongst
yeah.
friends, which usually the
Yeah.
show ends up being. I was thinking, what are we going to talk to Kathleen about today? And I was kind of like having like, where are we going to go? And it didn't. It certainly worked out, didn't it?
Yeah, I wondered the same thing, but
I know you
I-
told me I'm going to be a boring guest, but you've been anything but. You've shown
Thank you.
your heart and your light and your wisdom and your truth out to us all, and it's been great.
And you
So
shared
you-
your hero's journey. That's always good to hear the hero's
Yes.
journey. I started out, and then I made myself better. I had to fight some dragons, and then I got some magic. That's what a great hero's journey.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
There's your little dragon. Yeah.
And
yeah, I have
Okay, everybody.
I've been visited by dragons too. All right.
I'll send you the video like I did the last time, so you can play it for your friends.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you did great, and we love you. And Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
So thanks everybody
All
for
right.
watching, and we will see you on Sunday when I think we have Mike Scott, don't we? Is that right, Beans?
We got people coming up, that's for sure. Let me see if I can look here.
We got a show on Sunday
Yeah,
at 5
Michael
p.m.
Scott,
Eastern.
Pork and Beans. How come everybody's last name is Pork and Beans? Are they relatives? These are all, you only have your relatives on or something, Brian?
Because when you're on the show, you're part of the Pork and Beans family.
Lose your identity, right?
Yeah,
That's the whole thing.
Yeah. that's right. Okay, everybody, thanks so much. We shall
Thank you.
see you next time, and bye for now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.